Okay, I cannot stay silent about this. I can't. I can't. I can't. I can't. I was like, I don't want to record right now because it's like 4 a.m. I just finished watching this episode on Disney Now because it just came out. It like came out like an hour ago, and I started watching it. But I have to do this now. Forgive me for the quietness of this. I'm very, very up close to the phone, so hopefully it's not noticeable. But I'm really like kind of like a lot quieter than what I usually am. But man, this episode is just so incredible and just I don't know what this episode was, but I'm so happy it happened. It's so great. This is one of those rare times in animation where an episode isn't just good, it's brilliant, it's funny, it's clever, I guess is another one I could use to describe it, but it's great. It's a great episode. I don't want to say it. You guys are going to make me say it. I don't want to say it. Okay, fine, I'll say it. Just once. I'll say it just once. I think Big City Greens might be the best thing that's on Disney Channel right now. I said it. I know people of that witch show, the one with the owl and the house. They're gonna hate me for saying that. But man, I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna talk about too much here, because I honestly could make an entire video about the Owl House. I really could. I've seen basically every single episode of that show, aside from the first episode of season 3, because I haven't gotten around to watching it yet. For very good reason, but I haven't gotten around to watching it yet. I don't know, it's just not really interesting to me. It's not really like something I'm really, I guess, as invested in as a lot of people are. But enough about that show because it's not whatever we're talking about. Let me instead talk about something that I feel is incredibly clever, incredibly genius, and that is this episode, the one we're talking about right now. Montaged. I was wondering what was up with this title. Because it's one of those weird titles where I'm just like, as soon as the episode begins, I'm like, what are they doing? Like, what is this? Montage? And I'm like, okay, because it's like sheep bull riding. And I'm just like, what is this episode? Like, what is this going to be? So already off the bat, like before the episode even begins, I'm like, what is happening? Which is a perfect introduction to watching this episode. Because by the end, you're going to be like, what? Basically, this episode, I'm just going to give it to you briefly. This episode is about a plot device that's usually used in about a minute, maybe 2 minutes, depending on what type of thing you're watching. And it's basically that, but an entire episode based off of that. It's a montage. That's what this episode is. It's a montage. It's not like a clip show. That's not what it is. It's not a clip show because the cheap producers. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I was referencing another Big Sea Greens episode that I reviewed. Cheap Show, I think it was. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one's a good one. Oh, but yeah, I mean, this episode, it's difficult to describe, but basically, pretty much pure and simple, it's about Cricket trying to, ride this sheep and try to get good at this, like, new, like, sheep riding thing. And he thinks he can do it, and it's one of those things where, like, Bill tells them, like, oh man, it takes years of practice to do it and stuff. And basically, Remy proposes the idea, why don't you do a montage? And so after Remy shows him what a montage is, and after he basically decides, okay, I'm going to do a montage in real life. Oh my god. I've never, like, okay, dude. This episode could have been, it could have just stuck with that. And dude, how much I'm laughing kind of describes how amazing that would have been. But wait, there's more. They didn't do the montage. And they only do one part of it. Like, because you know how, like, a montage is like one part, the person's terrible. The other part, they're kind of good. They're getting there, but they're not quite there yet. And then the third part's like, oh yeah, they're there. Now they can do it. He basically does the one part, like the one thing, and he goes and rides the sheep. And he crashes into a wall. I'm explaining that. There's a reason why, but he crashes into a wall. He, like, because, like, the sheep, like, flings him. And, he just butts into the wall. There's, like, a huge indent in the wall. where he crashes into. There's a reason why I'm mentioning this. Don't worry, there's a reason. If you haven't seen the episode before, please watch it. It's amazing. But they basically do the montage, do the final part that I was talking about with the whole thing where they get better or whatever. And then at the end, it ends with a high five. And so that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to get to that part. But they found themselves every single time they high fived, the montage would repeat. And let me tell you something right now. They know exactly what's happening. Like, Cricket's like, what the? Wait, it repeated. Like, what's going on? So now you're even more confused because it's like, wait, how do they even know that it repeated whenever they're doing this in real life? Like, technically, isn't, Cricket just moving to that position? And he just randomly says, like, wait a second, it's moving. You know what I mean? And then you're asking another question. Very philosophical, this one is. And then they theorize that maybe Cricket has to, in order to stop this montage, because they're still stuck inside this montage. Tilly then theorizes, or I don't know if it was Remy or Tilly, I don't know, whichever one of them theorizes this, that maybe Cricket should learn science and do a science montage. And then from that, because they're tired, they do a fun montage. And then a fight one, and then another one, and then another one, and then another one. Until pretty soon there's like 40 different. It's just an endless cycle, and every one of them is getting weirder and weirder and weirder. Oh, dude. Oh my god. Oh man. And then finally, the whole moral happens where it's like, oh, there's no shortcuts, blah, blah, blah. You have to, the whole thing about, because Dad said it takes years, so there's no shortcuts. You can't, you can't do that. And then finally, it ends. Everything ends. And we're back to whenever he hit the wall. See, I told you I brought that up for a reason, because it was all a dream. And usually, I would hate that. But the reason why I don't here is because, well, like I said, that plot hole, that huge plot hole of how the hell do they know that they're transitioning to all these different scenes? How do they know this? They're carrying on conversations and everything. It's so, just like, it was so odd. You know what I mean? It was so, but in a really, really good way. Like, I was really in awe at, like, what was happening. Like, I couldn't believe it was happening, but it was happening. Like, is this something, like, I would make up? Because I do that stupid Cricket impression. I was thinking about, is this something is this what we're watching? Is it just something that I made up? Because this is something I would make up. It's glorious. This episode just reminded me of something that I can't even believe I'm bringing this show up in this context, but because I really never thought that any other show would have even come close to it. This episode really reminds me of something that, like, the Amazing World of Gumball would have tried to do. Like, I could see it, like, the Gumball doing something like this or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I could see that. This is why I'm basically saying that, at least for me, is the, like, best series for me, like, in terms of, like, Disney Channel stuff. Because this season has been insane. I love this episode. It was so great. It was so interesting. It was so funny. There's so many things. All the things to making a really, really good Big Sea Greens episode. This is it right here. This is it. It says a lot how I'm rambling for about 14 minutes in terms of my raw recording time. That goes to show how long and how lengthy this is. Because I just really want to get everything out. It's not often that I get to talk about a Big Sea Greens episode. It's been only a year, I think. I mean, come on, that says a lot. It's been like a year since I think I've talked about it. And I have been watching it. It's not like something that I just kind of stopped watching. I do watch it still. Like I said, I watch it on Disney Now. I watch it on Disney Now every single week. I make sure, like, oh, it's Saturday. Okay, when's 3 a.m. rolling around because I want to see if that new Big Sea Greens episode is out, or when's Friday, because sometimes it's on Friday. I make sure that I'm ready to watch a wacky, random a show about a country boy who goes a lot. I love this show. Okay, I can't really say it any other way. I love this show. It's really great. Of course, obviously, I can't really see my emotion now and say like, "Whoa, it's great," because it's so late. But I will. But trust me, it is a good show. I love this show. It's really great, and this was a really great episode. Probably a contender for the best episode in the series. I think there was propaganda too that I wanted to review, but I never really got around to doing it. That's a really good episode too. That's another really, really good one too. I love those types of episodes. I do. I really do. I love those types of weird, like, kind of odd and off-putting and kind of strange episodes. Those like odd ones. It's so fun. They're so much fun, especially with Big C Greens because these people they know how to do it. Probably, I would honestly argue better than anyone right now. Because man, whenever they do these visuals or these weird things, it's like everything is just like perfect. It's so good. Okay, I'm gonna go before I ramble like too much where it like kills my throat. I do want to go to bed pretty soon, sometime this millennium. So thank you guys so much for watching this terrifying dive into one of the strangest cartoon episodes I think I've ever reviewed on this channel. I cannot believe they made an entire episode about a plot device that's usually used for about a minute to shorten time between episodes to give it more runtime. And they just made an episode about it. And it wasn't just good, it was phenomenal. That says a lot about the people like working on this show. It says a lot. Love this episode. Love it. Love it. Love it so much. But guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and I guess I'll go and see you guys soon. See you next year whenever I do another Big Sea Greens review. Take care, everybody.